Welcome to Spin Justice with me, Hayley Owens, the podcast where I'll be talking about anything from health and fitness to the injustices of the world and everything in between. I've worked within the criminal justice system for over 20 years and have more recently taken to teaching indoor cycling, otherwise known as spin. Each week I'll be talking to a different guest about a topic that's personal to them, whether it be to raise awareness or just because. Most episodes will contain strong language because of who I am as a person, so if that's not for you, then probably best to swerve. Any opinions expressed by me are my own. Right, welcome, Knife Crime Special, Aisha, Joe Davis. I've got the names right.
Yes, you do.
Yes, good. So I've been wanting to do a Knife Crime Special for ages. Now, I say Knife Crime Special, but we've got so much more to talk about. So yes, that is the point, but there is other things that we're going to discuss as well. So we didn't meet at Knife Crime Awareness Week, which next year, I'm coming next year as well, by the way. So Joe, it's mad because me and Joe ended up connecting through Facebook. We ended up having a conversation. Joe said to me, oh, I've got this event, a summit, Knife Crime Summit in September, and there's a Knife Crime Awareness Week in Parliament in May. You should try and come to it. Here's an email address to try and get an in. And I did. Cheeky bitch. And got in and met so many people. But we'd spoke on the phone, hadn't we, Joe? But it was the first time we'd met. But next time we'll just share the invites with you and we'll all go down there.
Event, wasn't it?
It was such a big event, wasn't it?
It was.
Had you been previously?
No.
So that was the first time you went? Because I did speak to people there that had been in the previous years and they said it was the best attended year. So just for anyone that doesn't know about that, the Benkinsella Trust, as a result of the death of Benkinsella, they have, what's the word I'm looking for? Sort of Knife Crime Awareness Week was sort of founded, I think a few years ago, and it's to bring everyone together as a bit of a networking event, but also there's some like real motivational talks, isn't there? There was a 16-year-old lad. What did you think of him?
He was amazing.
I thought he was amazing. Can't remember his name, can you?
No.
He was the last speech talk of the event because they had a couple of MPs on. Leanne Lucas was on from the Stockport knife crime incident, and then there was this lad, Fabio. Was it Fabio?
That was it, Fabio, yeah. The youth ambassador, wasn't it, I think?
Yes, and he was fantastic. You know, and you just look at someone and you think, you're a motivational speaker.
Yeah, and at 15 as well.
At 15.
It's crazy.
Oh, he was just fun. And he had a physics exam the next day.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So Patrick from the Benkinsella Trust, he did a bit of a speech, didn't he, and spoke about how the foundation's going and things like that. But the point was to get everyone together and network. Yes, there was MPs there. Yes, there was, professionals, but there was a lot of bereaved families that are all trying their best to do something about the state that we're in.
Yeah.
So I came away with a lot of contacts and I'm happy to collaborate with literally anybody on it and do whatever I can to help. You know, I've got teenage boys. I've not been a victim, touch wood, of knife crime or any kind of real serious crime, but I can see where it's going. And, you know, we've spoke on the phone and stuff over the last couple of months. I was in the police for 20 years. In my opinion, I've got quite a negative view of the criminal justice system. And I feel like something needs to change, which is obviously why we've ended up, sort of coming together. So Aisha, tell us about your background first, because I think this is really fascinating.
Okay, so my story, I'm a mum of two, personally, so I've got a 7-year-old and a 9-year-old. But in terms of my career, for the last over 18 years now, I've been a criminal solicitor. So almost every day I'm at the police station, at the courts, and a lot of the time that is with the youths, which is 10-year-olds to 17-year-olds. I think a lot of people forget that 10-year-olds, that's the age of criminal responsibility, and that's the time that they can start getting arrested. Yeah. And that's why education is key from an early age. So, that's me. So I represent in the police station and court, and I see everything, every story, just like you in the police. Obviously, I might see the other side of certain things. Every story has two sides. Yeah. Well,
I worked in police custody for 13 years from the age of 18. And so I would have been calling you.
Yeah.
You know, that if 10 times, 20 times a day probably to get.
And all hours of the day and night.
All hours of the day and night, yeah. I mean, do they interview much during the night now?
So there's meant to be an 8-hour rest period.
Yeah.
It doesn't exist in our job. So many times will I get called at 3 a.m. to say we're ready to interview now. It depends on the client, if you know their circumstance, if you know they need their rest. But also a lot you could say, yes, okay, that's their right. They have a right to an 8-hour rest period, so we shouldn't be interviewing when they're tired, etc. But as you might expect, no one wants to be, if you've been arrested, you want to be dealt with and processed in and out nice and quickly. So they don't really want their 8 hours. And being a criminal solicitor is a 24-hour job. So any time that they're ready, out you go.
I think coming up towards the end of me working in custody, there weren't so many nighttime interviews going on. When I first started, like you say, it was day and night, and it would be at all hours, but they sort of stopped doing it where I was. And that's sort of what I remember, but I don't know what it's like now, because when I worked West Midlands, it was before, and you will probably have this where you are. Is it the Met that covers where you are?
No, I'm Essex
Police. Have they got the super blocks there?
No, we don't, no. And this is part of the problem why we work so much more in Essex, is because in London, as you know, there's hundreds of custody suites, where in Essex we just had 2 major ones, Basildon and Gray's Close. So that just literally leaves Southend. And that's why they have to interview in the early hours, because they need them out, because there's no capacity, there's no cell space for all these people coming in, because they're doing alarm upgrades and cell upgrades. So it's been a bit, it's very different in Essex though to London.
In the West Midlands, they've created these super blocks now, so 60 cell blocks, one in Perry Bar, one in Albury, and I left just as they were being built. So it was back in the police station days when I worked in custody, so I worked at Bourneville. But I did see on Facebook recently that they've reopened Bourneville. Okay. So I'm wondering what's going on here, because... Yeah. But anyway, it was good days for me, to be honest, working in there. I think it's very intense, isn't it? Yes. Custody blocks are intense. But I've got quite a lot of good memories of those days. I mean, it's not all bad, but I mean... Yeah.
It's the good, the bad and the ugly, right?
Exactly, yeah. So why have you started? So Educate Our Youth 2025 is your Instagram page.
That's right, yes.
And tell us why. Why did you start this?
So basically, I think it's got to a point for me, it's taken long enough after 18 years, I'm just frustrated. I'm fed up of sitting in front of children, whether it be at the police station or the court, and they're crying, and their parent, their appropriate adult, is crying because... they've committed a crime unintentionally or unknowingly sometimes, and they sit there and tell me, but I didn't know what I was doing wrong. Now, we're not talking about the obvious stuff. The obvious stuff they do teach, although not very well, they do teach in schools. But I just keep going to the police station, and they just telling me they didn't understand what they were doing was wrong. And the parents sitting there, well, I never thought my child would have got in this situation. A bit like us, we think their kids will never be involved in that. They're good kids. But obviously there's exploitation to be considered about, peer pressure, and just some things, some little crimes that people just don't understand the full extent of. So I was getting frustrated with that. We all know that youth crime is on the up, and it's definitely more prolific now than many, many years before. Just a bit of stats. So we've got in the year 2023, 2024, because they're the most up-to-date stats that we can have at the moment.
Yes.
There was just over, I think, just under 59,000 children arrested. Just under 8,300 of those were first-time entrants. And this is also now the second consecutive year of increase of reoffending, because the problem is once children get involved in the criminal justice system, they're embroiled in it. So when they go to the court, there are all the other youths that are probably more involved in crime, and connections are made, and obviously then there's detention centres and stuff like that. So they become more embroiled, so that's why reoffending happens. And I think it's 32.5% increase from last year for a second consecutive year. So we have a reoffending problem as well. But my point is we need to try to reduce youth crime. So we need to try to reduce the amount of first-time entrants into the criminal justice system, because once they're in, that can have damaging consequences with their futures. It damages the lives of their parents and their families, but also twofold. If you could have stopped that crime being committed in the first place, then it stops the damage caused to the victims and the victim's family as well.
Yeah. Exactly.
But it's about educating them so that they can't sit there in front of us anymore and say, I didn't know what I was doing wrong. I'm not talking about giving the prolific offenders or frequent offenders a pass. That's not what we're here for. If you commit a crime knowingly, you deserve to be in the criminal justice system and be processed in that situation. But for the people that genuinely didn't know, we need to try to stop that. And I just thought it was very hypocritical of us as a country, because this is not just an Essex petition. This is not worldwide, a nationwide situation. It's hypocritical for us to punish our youth, so the children of our country, when we don't, for the ignorance and the lack of knowledge that we've created, because we're not giving them that knowledge. So how can we punish someone when we haven't equipped them to make the better informed decisions? And that's the whole point. It's enabling children to make the better informed decisions, because from the age of 10, they are going to have to start making themselves accountable for things. And unfortunately, a lot of children don't know what they were doing was wrong. This is not just in schools we have, don't carry knives, don't do drugs, and consent and cyberbullying is obviously a new thing, quite a major thing now. But it's the little things they don't appreciate. Joint enterprise, how being in a group can get you involved and get you arrested for like murders and assaults, even though you're just stood there. It's
and
just
convicted.
Crazy.
I mean, the amount
of
I've spent 7 years working on homicide. The amount of joint enterprises that we dealt with, they think it's all right.
Yeah.
Mate, you're going down for 30 years.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I heard them talking about something, but I wasn't doing anything. I wasn't involved.
Nah.
Well, sorry, you're now arrested and unfortunately in some cases convicted of that. And then that's obviously devastating consequences.
Yeah.
But silly little things like what is assault, what is consent, drugs. The fact that if I'm just going to I'm taking drugs, I'm going to pass it back to my mate. That's social supply. That's a higher guideline. So it's the little things that they don't realise.
Yeah.
Had they known that, would they have made that decision? Those children then decide to continue to do that. That's on them. But we need to be able to educate them first so that they can make that better informed decision. And then by doing that, obviously what we're trying to do, I'm aware education is not the answer. There's so many reasons why people commit crime.
Yeah.
Factual. The ease and access of getting drugs, weapons, obviously the knives, the accessibility of knives, the socioeconomic factors involved, experiences, upbringing. There's so much, and there's loads of research with that. But what there's no research in is education, because the education doesn't exist. That's the whole point. I've had some bigger charities come back to me and say, sorry, we can't support this because there's no research. Well, there's no research because we're not educating in the first place. Yeah. So we don't know. We haven't gone to the police station and said, oh, well, you were taught about this in school, or if you weren't taught this in school, would you have made a different decision? That doesn't exist.
Yeah, we've got to start somewhere.
We have to start somewhere.
Yeah.
So obviously what I'm trying to do is make it that the education is mandatory as part of the curriculum, which I'll come to in a moment. But by doing this, you'd hopefully reduce crime. You'd then reduce the amount of pressure and burden on the youth offending service. These amazing charities out there that are already overburdened, underfunded, picking up the pieces because there is this issue, they'd have less burden on them. And also, which everyone would love, taxpayers' money. Every child that enters the criminal justice system is on legal aid. So we are paying. We're not educating our children. We're allowing them to be arrested, and then we're paying for that privilege of putting them through the police station and the court system. Yeah. So we need to try to reduce it. And even though education is not the only factor, it is a factor. Yes. And I think it has to be tried. Yes. One of the other things is that some people will say, well, they teach this in schools. They teach don't carry knives, don't do drugs, and a little bit about consent, but it doesn't go far enough. In my profession, as you know, as an ex-police officer, that's the tip of the iceberg of the offending and stuff to learn, like the tip. But also, we already teach it as part of PHSE. Well, first of all, PHSE is actually not part of the curriculum. A lot of people don't know this.
Is it not?
I've had to look and make a lot of research into it. RSE is, but PSHE is not.
Yeah, my boys do that, PHSE.
Yeah, and schools do PSHE. But if you look, most schools use there's something called the PHSE Association, and they produce a guidance on what things in PHSE lessons you should be taught.
It's easy for you to say.
And there's a guidance on it, and I've gone through that guidance, and I can clearly see there are things about drugs and knives and stuff, but it doesn't go far enough. But it's not mandatory. Schools can teach what they want to teach in their PHSE lessons, and they don't have to dedicate anything to crime. And also, the guidance that they then do follow is not detailed enough. So especially like academies and trusts, they're on their own. They're not governed by the local authorities as well. So that's an issue there as well. So one, schools don't have to teach it. And two, they then normally follow the association guidance, which for my purposes doesn't cover what is necessary. And one of the reasons I think is why is because it's so difficult to teach. But then there has to be a collaboration with the educators, the government, and people, the criminal practitioners, to be able to show this is what needs to be taught and why. Because I know from speaking to a lot of the charities that go into schools, one thing they don't do is teach children about sentencing and the consequences of consequences of their actions, because youth sentencing is so complicated. There's a gravity matrix, there's different levels, there's guidelines to be considered, and actually there's no actual youth guideline as such. It's done by a basis of half to a third of what an adult would get. So it's complicated. So teachers don't know that. I'm not expecting them to know that. I'm not putting any blame on the teachers. They're doing what they can do, but there needs to be some discussion about what is taught and how it's taught, and the teachers need to be provided with that information.
Yeah, and I'm just mulling this over in my brain now. Like, you know how we bring in outside providers to teach PE? We could bring an outside provider in to teach criminal offences and their consequences.
Yeah.
Easy.
100%. I mean, that would be one of my dream jobs, is act as a consultant going into all the schools. I mean, you go into schools. There's some amazing charities all that go into schools, but that's because it's needed.
Yeah.
But why is this not part of the curriculum? Why are we having to teach it in assemblies or after school time to make sure the kids are getting this education?
Yeah.
Because not all schools do that, for a start. It's only the lucky ones that do. And as I said, these are charities. These are overburdened, underfunded already. They can't get around to any schools. I mean, I did some pro bono work at my last firm, going into schools to teach them. But what I find fascinating is that kids love it.
Yeah, they do.
It's so engaging. It's such an interest. This is why I've been doing it for 18 years. Criminal law is fascinating.
Yes.
It's interesting. So they want to talk about it. It's an enjoyable subject to them. So they engage. And when you engage in learning, you learn.
Yes, and you know what? I've been invited into some schools and universities just to talk about the criminal justice system, or, you know, my job or whatever. I've gone into Newman Uni last year, I think it was, and some local schools just to catch the school leavers, and they love it.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that, you know, I think how you talk as well. I mean, you clearly, I think I'm engaging with you. So I feel like, you know, because my boys, my youngest particularly gets detention every single day. And he goes, Mum, I hate geography, and he hates me. And he says to me, I want to be a boxer. I want to leave school and I want to be a boxer. And why do I want to know about geography? I'm not interested in it. But we've got this battle going on at the minute with the geography teacher. He's put him on report just for geography. And we've got this constant, I didn't like geography. I'm not interested in geography. I tell you what, let's take the geography out and let's put this in.
Yeah.
I know that's not for everybody. I know we need to keep some things in, but why can't we? You know, it's so antiquated. The education system needs to move with the times.
Exactly. And this is the other thing. It's the curriculum is out of date. I mean, you'll hear a lot of people say we need to add finances and debt stuff into the equation. I don't need to know my algebra. If you want to do those things, like as with law, like I didn't find law until A-level, and that's only because I knew that I wanted to be a lawyer. But you don't need to do certain things. You don't need to know like complex maths unless you want to be the engineer or the architect or whatever it may be.
Exactly.
So there is space on the curriculum for it, but there's much more important things that they need to learn because times have changed. And I know that there has been a curriculum review. It's ongoing at the moment. I've sent in my views to that curriculum review. So they are looking at changing that. But are we actually going to get any proper change? I don't think we are.
Well, let's talk about the petition then. So, is it, because have you done a signature count?
Yes, I checked this morning.
Go on.
826.
Okay.
Which for me is a massive achievement.
Yes.
Because that's what I would call my warm market. So it's all my friends and family sharing, me doing all my work with other charities and seeing if they can repost things and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But now I'm sort of coming to my limit now, and this is why I'm so thankful for that collaborations with such as yourself to be able to spread the word.
Yes.
I mean, I'm not an influencer. I've only gone on TikTok and Instagram for this petition. I hate it.
Yeah.
And I'm learning stuff, so I'm trying to learn how to spread it. But it's just people need to share and share and share. And the thing is, I've not had any negative comeback from this. Everyone thinks it's a no-brainer.
Exactly. Is there one person going, nah?
Exactly.
There ain't one person, especially if you're a parent.
Yeah.
There is not one person that's going to look at this and go, nah.
No, yeah, exactly.
I shared it. I think did we get about 100?
We've got a lot. Yeah.
From that day, and I'll keep pushing it. Is there a deadline? That's what I wanted to ask.
18th of September is
so
a
we've got
deadline. See, the thing is, if I get 10,000 signatures, I get a response from Parliament. And I think I already know what sort of response that's going to be, because it's going to be negative. I take that back if it's not, if I get that far. But there just doesn't seem to be even like the MPs that I've contacted, so there's only, I mean, there's hundreds of MPs. I've contacted all of them, and obviously we're not constituents, so you can only normally go to your actual MP. My MP, I won't say too much, but they haven't engaged with it at all. So I've had to go to other people to try to push it. But there's just no, other than probably a handful, like 5 maybe, out of all of them that there's just not an interest. They think we're such a small pebble in a big ocean. But it is a big issue. It should be a rock in the ocean.
Yeah.
So I'm not getting it from the support from that way. But it's about people sharing and sharing and sharing. It needs to go viral.
Yes.
And that's obviously why I'm trying to do things like this to spread it. But 10,000 signatures is a response, and that's going to go nowhere. So I do need the 100,000 to get it debated in Parliament, because that's when conversations are going to be had.
Right.
I can't do that on my own.
We've
I don't know 100,000 people.
Of course we don't.
So if anyone, I'm open to suggestions as well and other collaborations, but just share it across the nation.
I'm wondering how we can push this. I mean, I'm going to give this some real serious thought, because something needs to change. The whole reason we're here, the whole reason we're talking, we've had enough.
Yeah.
You know, as parents alone, we've had enough. You know, but like, you're seeing it day in, day out. I mean, I'm out of it now. I've been out of it a few years. I'm not really seeing the youth side of things in particular.
Yeah.
But I mean, I remember when my kids were turning 10, and I remember saying to them, you can get locked up now.
Yeah.
I used to use it as a bit of a bribe.
Yeah.
Yeah. And do you know what else? This is the other thing. When I very first started working in custodies, parents used to say, if like the kid had like dipped into the mum's purse or done something naughty, they'd bring them down to the police station, and they'd say can I speak to the custody sergeant? They're not allowed to do it now.
Yeah, no,
but we did used to do it.
Little threat.
Yeah. And no, we'd put them in a cell.
Yeah.
I'd go out, like we'd go out, and we had this really mean custody sergeant. He's lovely, but he'd come across really stern, and we used to get the kids in, speak to the parents, are bringing them for the right reasons. Do you know what I mean? They're trying to show them this is what happens if you steal or whatever. So they'd bring them in, and we'd put them in a cell. We'd leave them in there for a bit. We'd watch them on the camera.
Never did it again, though.
Exactly. One, I don't think the police stations can do that anymore.
Yeah, no, they can't.
No.
Safeguarding and well-being and
the red
tape.
On.
Yeah.
Like, do you know work experience? Put them in a custody block.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mandatory work experience in a custody block, and see people smear the walls with shit.
Yeah.
And bang that door all night long, and you know all that goes with it, and that'll put them off.
Yeah, I think there was one school in Sheffield that I follow. I think it was Sheffield, and they managed to get a class to go to the police stations. They did that, and I was quite surprised, because, like you say, it doesn't happen anymore. But that was a good experience for them. But I find as well, even though a lot of people support it, and they'll just do their one signature, because it's a lot of the parents that are, oh, it's a great idea, I think it should be done, but they're not going to push for it because they don't think, my child won't do this.
Oh, yeah.
But they will.
Yeah.
Unknowingly and unintentionally, they will, because I have seen it. I am the one sitting in front of that child that has never been arrested before, talking to their parent who's sitting there in utter shock.
Yes.
Saying, how did you become embroiled in this? Because of peer pressure and exploitation. So it's not just teaching the criminal law, it's a teaching about the signs of exploitation as well, and the consequences. So they know everything. When they know, they're not being befriended. This is not a nice new mate that's giving you a nice pair of trainers or buying you some chocolate every week. You're being groomed.
Yeah.
So they need to be alive to that.
Yeah.
Because if they think they are a friend, then you're going to do more for that person. And this is the situation they get in. So it's about the exploitation, which is such an important issue as well.
It is a massive issue. And just when you were talking then, did you watch Adolescence?
Yes.
What did you think? Did you not watch it?
No, I can't watch it.
Oh, watch it.
I obviously, from my point of it's a professional view, it's terrible.
I was going all the way through. That wouldn't happen.
I know, right?
And that wouldn't happen.
I think I put my head underneath my jumper at one point, and it's just, this is so, because it's a duty solicitor.
Yeah.
And we get so much stick anyway. Everyone just thinks the duty solicitor is someone associated to police. I'm a duty solicitor.
Yeah.
We are rotated to a police station for a 24 or 7-hour period.
Yeah.
And you get me.
Yeah.
But it's for anyone that doesn't know, to ask for me, then gets me if I'm rotated. It was so bad. Nothing that happened in adolescence would actually happen in a police station.
And he was
For a
locked
murder
up,
involving
booked in and interviewed within about 40 minutes.
Oh, and
I was like, this just would not happen.
Oh, and the strip search, and it was so bad.
Yeah.
But it's obviously trended. It's had a massive impact.
It has.
And you see the dad sitting there in shock.
Yeah.
How have you done this? Why have you done this? Like, So it just goes to show. So it brought that very live issue.
Yes.
But in terms of professionally, to anyone watching this, that doesn't happen.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't.
If your child gets arrested, you won't have that sort of
the
representation.
thing with programmes these days, especially police dramas and stuff, I love them.
Yeah.
But quite often I'm a nightmare to watch them with, because I go, that wouldn't happen, and that wouldn't happen, and that wouldn't happen. The only ones that are quite good is like 24 Hours in Police Custody.
Yeah.
That's
Pretty, it's real.
It's a bit more real, isn't it? But I wanted to just quickly, before we move over to Joe, I want to just, yes, it's a knife crime episode, but on your Instagram, which is what I'm loving at the minute, because I'm learning myself, and parents, listen up now, because this is where we're learning. So even if the education system doesn't take any notice, you can take notice and you can educate your child.
Exactly.
So the other day you put something on. You got two 15-year-olds, boyfriend and girlfriend. Is it okay for them to kiss?
Yeah.
And you put the poll, so it's a yes or a no.
Yeah.
And they cannot consent under the age of 16. We're talking a kiss in a relationship.
Yeah.
It's an offence.
And it's fine if it stays private.
But when
for
they
any
break
reason,
up,
if that girl scorned and she wants to tell someone about it and say that, which doesn't even have to say that I didn't want it, because you can't consent.
You cannot consent
so
under the age of 16.
all these early relationships are problematic. But the boy, for example, or the girl in that situation, they think, well, I'm a girlfriend and boyfriend. Well, of course she can consent, and she did consent. I haven't forced it.
She
wanted
physically
it,
cannot under 16. And this is where people really need to switch on now. And I tell, especially my eldest, he's 15. Oh, can I go to a party? I'm like, mate, listen to me now. Don't do anything sexual, or anything in general. But you've really got to be switched on.
Yeah.
Because if, like you say, you might have a lovely relationship, and then in 3 months' time, it comes to an end. She's pissed off with you and she goes to the police.
Yeah.
You're getting locked up.
Yeah.
And you will find yourself in a cell or being interviewed for whether it be a sexual assault, worst case, a rape. I've dealt with so many kids arrested for rape because of the age of consent.
Yeah.
And, you just think this is something that needs to be talked about massively. But the polls that you're putting on, the knuckle duster.
Yeah. That's shocked a lot of people.
Yes. Say it again, what you put on.
Obviously, most of the followers for the series are adults.
Yeah.
So the polls that are being completed are adults, and a lot of them are parents. So it's just basically seeing if they know the law. Because obviously the idea is, if you know the law as a parent and you've got children, you will teach them what it is.
Yeah.
But what's been interesting to see is that the parents don't know either.
Exactly.
So most of the polls you have a yes and no, and you see the percentage of people that have said yes and no, and there's a lot of people that don't know. And then they're shocked, and then they message me privately and go, I didn't know this. But the knuckle dusters, obviously, as we know, in terms of the knives campaign as well, in 2021, prohibited weapons became, you couldn't have them in private.
Right.
So this is the whole thing. A lot of people think they can have knuckle dusters, certain swords and stuff in private at home, butterfly knives, because it's private. It's my house. I have what I want in there. Not since 2021. If police come into your house and they find it, you will get arrested for possession of offensive weapon in a private place.
Yeah.
But a lot of people don't know that.
Of course.
I had one recently, didn't I, with the machetes?
Yeah.
They just didn't know, and she sat there and told me. I just didn't know.
Yeah.
This is the whole point. So parents are not knowing. So this is the point. The parents don't know. Some people say, well, it's up to the parent to teach the children. It's not up to the schools, which I disagree with anyway. But it's up to the parents to teach. But one, if the parents don't know themselves, then they can't teach it. Two, what the sad situation of this world we live in now is, either a lot of the children don't have parents that will teach, and also a lot of children don't have parents, whether it be carers or they're homeless or whatever, or they just don't have that.
Yes.
Or in terms of SEND children as well, their parents are dealing with their issues because life is a struggle enough already without having to teach them all of this as well. So this is where it falls down to the education system.
Yeah.
But the whole point of me doing the polls is to show everyone that not every parent knows the answer either. So how can you expect that information to go?
But openly now, I said to you, some of the stuff you've put on, I've worked in the criminal justice system for over 20 years. Some of it I didn't know the answer to, some of the stuff you're putting on. And I thought, I consider myself to be quite hot on the law, generally. Especially would be able to tell my kids what are right and wrong, because when you talked about grooming, I remember saying to my kids years ago, anyone ever tries to give you something, no, don't take anything, because it might be, they've bought me some new trainers, or they've done, mate, It's grooming. I'm working. I'll give her a shout out at the end. I won't say it now, but there's I'm seeing a lot about the grooming gangs. It's all in the news, isn't it, at the moment? But yeah, that's huge.
But again, it's all in the news. It's huge. So why are we not teaching our kids that this is what can happen to you? It's difficult enough because these children have to navigate their way to adulthood, which is difficult anyway with peer pressure and influence and other things. But we're not giving them the knowledge to help them make the right decisions. So it's just silly.
So a link to the petition is going to be in the description of the podcast, isn't it, Carl? We need a minimum of 10,000, but we've got to get that 100,000.
I would love to get the 100,000 to really get it debated.
Now, I saw you said it was your birthday yesterday, and you said, don't want a birthday present or a birthday card, I want the signature song. Yes. Same with me. My 40th is coming up. I'm going to push this.
Thank you.
I'm going to push the line. Because it's important. You know, I feel very passionate about it, same as you. So I feel like we've got to keep pushing it, and we've all got a part to play.
Yeah, and everyone can make a difference.
Yes.
At the end of the day, that one signature, it will all add up.
Yeah.
But it just needs to be shared. So if anyone could just share it to their friends and family, but then ask them to share it, and then the spread will happen.
I think when you sign it, it does give you the option to share, doesn't it?
Yeah, so I think it does, because it takes you to the official government website, because it's an official government website. I haven't changed it all because the petition signatures don't count. Right. So it's all officially done, and then you can share it. But if not, you just literally cut and paste the link. And then you've got that in your WhatsApp or your text, and then just send it to everyone you know.
For anyone that doesn't know how to copy and paste a link, because my mum wouldn't know what to do. When someone sends you a link, hold it down, press the link and hold it down. It will come up, copy, press copy, go into a new message, click into the bar where you type a message, press it down, and it will come up, paste. Send, easy.
Yeah.
It takes seconds.
Exactly. And it does take seconds. So when you go onto the website, you put in your details, it does then send you a verification, because it is an official government website. So you do then have to go into your Hotmail, your emails. But again, it just takes seconds to verify signature, and then it's all done.
And then it says your signature's been added, doesn't it? So you've got to go into your email.
Verify,
Yeah. So it's the link for the petition's in the description of this podcast. We're going to be pushing the life out of it anyway.
Amazing, thank you.
So I just think it's fantastic what you're doing. But we'll be coming back to you and coming back to different parts. But Jo, tell us about Owen's World.
So we set up January 2023. Right. Obviously, my son's best friend was stabbed to death in December 2022. So we set up. Initially, our aim was the bleed kits. So go and distributing them. And then Owen's mum was absolutely adamant, we need to go into schools. So we obviously found out all our information, got our presentations together. Obviously they've evolved as we've been through the schools with feedback. And yeah, I think our first workshop was actually a Cubs group. So the age of 8. Yeah. So we'll go anywhere from the age of 8 up. But predominantly year 5 and year 6, because Owen obviously was attacked. He then had that knife on him when he died because he felt it protected him, and the boys then used that as an excuse of why they attacked him, because they felt scared. And then obviously we've then got the issue of the joint enterprise, because there was the 2 boys involved. The kids in school are absolutely amazed when we tell them that actually the older boy is doing 7 years more than the younger boy, even though the younger boy killed him. They're absolutely amazed by it. And the fact that the older boy, even though he didn't do it, is in prison for murder, that it really shocks them. So we did think that, we've lost Owen, what can we do so that no one else has to go through what they are going through? Because obviously I see the pain on his mum's face every time I see her, and it's so difficult. He's so missed. And it's just something just to remember him.
So this was happened in Swindon, December 2022.
Yeah.
And because I know the circumstances, but the viewers and the listeners won't. So he'd had some beef with some kids, yeah? So there'd been a bit of tension between him and some other boys.
We don't know for sure, but he was... so we can't tell at the moment whether it was him that was the target. So
yeah, but I mean the week before
he was attacked. Yeah.
So a week before he was killed.
Yeah.
He was attacked by 2 boys.
2 boys. Yeah.
In JD.
Yeah.
So as a result of him being attacked the week before his death, he armed himself with a knife.
Yeah.
Now, obviously that's terrible, isn't it? because I remember when you first told me, when we first spoke on the phone, and you told me that he when he died, he had a knife on him. And I'm like, for God's sake, you know, like the first thing that came into my head was, this is the problem.
Yeah.
But then you told me about the precursor incident that happened a week before, and the reason he'd armed himself was because he was scared. And this is what's happening a lot, isn't it? The kids are arming themselves because they're scared.
Yeah.
They don't want to use it.
No.
But they are having to protect themselves because this is the world we're living in. How have we got to this? To
and
the
his
point?
mum didn't know either. I mean, she didn't. I mean, he was killed in the December, and I think his mum found out about the attack in JD in July the following year.
No.
So she didn't even know. And it was only because the store manager got in touch and said, but yeah, it was literally, he was attacked. He didn't want to stay in the store. Obviously, he went home. She'd rung the police. They said, we'll put it through his intel. And I think the police actually went out to the store the day after he was murdered, saw the CCTV and said, oh my, that's the boy from yesterday. So then it was a bit like, but they still didn't contact his mum and say, look, you know, she had to find out through the store manager. Didn't know he had a knife on him either until she was told after he died, because if she'd have known, she could have maybe, could have intervened and done something, but she didn't have a clue. And obviously we then got approached by the police crime commissioner for Wiltshire to do our campaign with him, aimed at parents to just check the children. And like his mum says in that, like, you know, anybody can say that's not my child, but she was like, it might just be your child that is carrying that knife.
And also, we all would love that our kids are perfect and all this, like you've just said, there's going to be, you deal with parents on a daily basis and they are there in the police stations, like your adolescents, you know. So yes, he's armed himself with a knife because he's been attacked a week before. He's gone out, he's been stabbed, fatally stabbed, and obviously then Owen's World's come about as a result of his death, which happens a lot, doesn't it? I mean, I've worked with lots of bereaved families. Everyone's pushing a campaign. There's a few more we will talk about after. But what is it that you're trying to push in terms of law and pushing for, like, Parliament? Because I know we talked about...
Yeah, so our aim, so obviously there's all these bans on knives. That's brilliant, okay. It does put some sort of halt on it. But I think we need to look at the wider picture, and that is the parents. So we sort of went in and we spoke to our MP. We went in and met him, and we said, look, you know, the government are fining parents because their kids are truant. Their kids are in school, not in school. Parents get fined. Why are they not fining parents that don't take responsibility for their children? If their kids are constantly in trouble or constantly carrying a knife or, you know, being in trouble with the police, why are the parents not facing the consequences of this? So we did, I don't really know what stage that is at the moment, because I don't really know how that's going to be heard. But yeah, we do think that parents do need to face, obviously we're aware as well, you know, there would be strike systems to it, because not every parent, you know, some parents really do care about their children and they really do try. But there are other parents that just don't care. And we've seen that firsthand in Owen's case. I mean, the younger boy that we can't name, his dad was a nightmare during the trial, you know, provoking Owen's family and, you know, and he'd been out on a stabbing, the dad, months before. And the kid had been with him, so...
Sometimes the kids are a lost cause and it's down to the parents, in my opinion. I've got boys. Jesus, I would, you know, if I found a knife on one of my kids, like I'd hit the roof. But I mean, if I found a vape, because it's all about vaping now, isn't it? Then I'd hit the roof. Do you know what I mean? So it's like I'm not strict with them. But I think, you know, there's just some stuff I'm like, no, like. Some of Thomas's friends now, they're vaping and that, and he talks about it quite a bit. And he knows too much about stuff, but then I'm like, I suppose he does need to know. But then, why do you know about that?
It's year fives in school, though. The amount that they know is horrifying.
Well, you said you went to that school yesterday. Yeah, what was it they know about?
They knew about butterfly knives, and my jaw hit the floor because I just thought, you're 9 and 10 years old. How do you know what these knives are, and where are you finding this out. It's scary, but we teach them all of that. You know, we'll tell them about the ban, we'll tell them about the knives, we'll tell them about joint enterprise. Last year I think we were a bit naive last year because we were trying to sort of be really like, what's the saying? I suppose wrapping them in cotton wool. So we'd go into year 5 and we had this really little video on stranger danger. And it's only when I spoke to one of the teachers at my other daughter's school, and he said, no, he said, they are taught about grooming in their PSHE. He said, so no, don't you take that out and do your exploitation bit. So we go in there, and Debbie, our lady that does the schools with me, I mean, she's got all the knowledge from her teaching background and safeguarding, so she gets stuck in, she tells them it all, and I'm looking at the teachers watching their face thinking, was this too much? But you know, they need it.
Well,
because they don't have a clue about it all. These kids think, you know, when you tell them you can get in trouble, you can go to prison just for carrying a knife, and they're like, they're really shocked. Or you know, you don't even have to use that knife. You don't even have to. If you're with somebody, like, you know, even if the lad hadn't have got his knife out that day and swung it at Owen before the other boy killed him, he was there. So, and he didn't try and stop the other one, so he still would have been done for it.
What sentences did they get?
So they both got found guilty of murder. The older boy, he obviously got life with a minimum sentence of 19 years, and the younger boy got life with a minimum of 12.
How old are they both?
So when they killed him, the younger boy was 14 and the older boy was 17. Obviously, they're now 17 and 20.
Right, okay.
So the older boy is named. His face is everywhere. But I think the younger one turns 18 in January.
So at 17, he got a minimum of 19 years.
He was 18 when I went to trial.
Oh, was he?
So I think, because he should have had 25, but they dropped it because of... I mean, when he killed Owen, he was on tag.
Oh, God.
So during the trial, they had they mapped it, so we saw the CCTV from every minute of his journey. Because of his tag? Because of his tag.
Trial tag.
Yeah. And then that's how they then found out that actually I don't think this was self-defence, because then it took them an hour to get... I mean, there's CCTV all over the internet now from it all, and you can see that they're clearly looking for somebody, but it took them an hour to get from their starting point to where Owen was killed, and it took them about 15-20 minutes to get back again.
Disgusting.
So,
I feel like.
And in that case, like with the younger boy, obviously I can't say too much, but the younger boy, the mum went and picked them up.
Oh, okay.
And it's just, you know, that's where our parent thing comes in, because it's like, you know,
She went out. She didn't get locked up for assisting an offender.
Well, no, and we don't really know what happened with that either. Like, we never really know how far. I don't know if they could prove that she knew what he'd done. But yeah, and you got the dad. I mean, he was out on a stabbing with the dad before, like a month before. And, you know, and a month later he's killed Owen. But yet they're making out in court that these boys have had a really hard upbringing and stuff. And
yeah, but it's always the way, isn't it?
It's just,
glowing reports. We've got it. The thing is, like you say, some kids belong in the criminal justice system, and some don't. Yeah. And it's getting in there young. I mean, year 5 and year 6, I think it's a fantastic age to be targeting them and telling them, because let's hope that, say if that was delivered in all schools at that age, what's going on now, there's going to come a time where it's weeded out, you know, because they're scared even to carry a knife or even be with someone that carries a knife. So if you are scared of going to prison because of what someone else does, don't stop me. Yeah. You know.
I had a mum actually mention something. She was like, oh, what age do you want to teach it at? And I was like, definitely from year 6, because that's obviously when they start to become criminally responsible. She went, well, I wouldn't want you to teach this to my son because it's going to scare him.
Tough shit.
So that's the other problem. Yeah. Some parents don't want to teach them, so they're wrapping them up and then letting them out into this big bad world where things are going to happen. This is the real life. Yeah. You haven't prepared them for it. Yeah. So it's exactly
we do a lot of SEN schools as well, because obviously they're vulnerable when they go out in the community. I mean, obviously we know that when people are going to groom and they're going to exploit, you know, they're not discriminative, are they? So they'll go for anybody. But these kids are more likely, they're more vulnerable. So they are the ones that are likely to be dragged into it. How much they take on, we don't know. But the secondary school, so yesterday, the primary school, that we went to, that was our second visit because we did last year. So a lot of the kids have had it twice. And she emailed me not long ago and said, you know, have you got any material appropriate for year 3 and 4? And I was thinking,
oh, wow.
Okay, that's young.
that is
he's
young. I don't think they understand the concepts of it, let alone anything else. I think that would be too young.
Yeah.
I think that's a bit young,
year 5 and 6, because I mean in year 5 most of those kids are turning 10. So
you could be arrested at 10.
And they're hearing it, like you say, they knew about these things, and that's social media. So they're watching these TikTok videos, they're looking at this, sort of everyone vaping and holding knives, and they think it's okay because it's on TikTok, so it must be okay.
Yeah.
And that's what's leading to that as well. So they're not learning it anything from school, they're learning it from the social media, but it's the wrong message on social media.
And a lot of them think that more people carry knives as well than what they do, because we asked them that. And we said, put your hand up, and we do it at a certain point. So under 10%, 10 to 50, over 50, the majority is over 10%. So that when you tell them that actually in Wiltshire and Swindon, only 2% of people, young people, carry a knife, they think, ooh.
Well, the stat from Knife Crime Awareness Week, the social stuff they sent out to us on email that we could share in the lead up, you probably will have seen them on the socials. It said 99% of people don't carry a knife.
Exactly.
It's just always that 1% letting the side down with everything.
Yeah, but it's interesting though, because you see that's so high.
Yeah.
A lot of children carry knives for protection because they think other people are.
Yes.
But actually that's not the truth. But then obviously tragedies happen.
Yeah. So what's your aim? What's the overall goal with Owen's World?
Just to get the message out there.
Yeah.
Just not to pick up a knife.
Yeah.
And just to make parents more responsible, because it is scary how many aren't.
Yeah, go through their coats, go through their pockets, go through their bags.
Check your children.
Yeah,
that's
Owen
what
used
you
to
said.
go out with a puffer jacket on. I mean, we've got a picture of him that we use in our presentations. He sat there on a bench with a puffer jacket on in the summer with his hay fever tablets, but then he was always cold. And it's like Zoe says in the campaign, if your kid's going out in boiling hot weather with a balaclava on and a big jacket, you want to be asking them, why do you need that? It's scary. And I've got to the point now where I could be walking through town and you see a load of teenagers coming towards you, and I'm looking at the leg, thinking, have you got anything in there? And you can normally tell when they have, but what would you do about it?
Yeah. See, I absolutely rip my kids if they like sometimes wear the jeans a bit low. The trousers, I go, get them fucking trousers up now. I do. You let anyone see you like that. Or if they occasionally talk to me like a mate, like fam or bro, who are you talking to?
Yeah, my eldest does that.
Yeah.
Nearly 22, mate. Come on, grow up.
Yeah, I'm not. I actually go berserk at them because I'm like, no, it's not happening in my house. But what I was going to come to then, that was it, about the check your children. I just wanted to just quickly touch on that because I think it's a good idea. If my kid was found carrying a knife and then the government said, right, you're getting a fine, I'd be like, fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. I mean, I'm probably going to get a fine because I took them out on holiday. And that pisses me off. Because,
that might be changing soon.
Well, first day I got back from holiday, letter on the mat from the school saying unauthorised absence. So I'm phoning the school up. And I said, everyone better be getting these. Don't be picking and choosing who you're sending these to, because if I'm getting a fine and other people are getting away with it, I will hit the roof. She said that everybody in this school from August last year has gone down as unauthorised. But me, I think it's an £80 fine if you pay it within so long. I haven't been fined yet. It's down to mine's Worcester Council. If they fine me, this is how my thought process is going to go. It's £80 if you pay it within so long. Then it doubles if you don't pay it within so long. Or then it can go to court. You can go to court. I'm literally like, send me to prison. This is what I'm like. I says to the kids, I'll go to prison, mate. Yeah. Like, Mum, you can't go to prison. I'm like, I'd be sound in jail. Like, I'd be absolutely fine. But who's going to send me to prison for taking my kids on holiday?
Well, this is the thing. Exactly. There needs to be a test.
Yeah, I'll do it. I'll test it.
Is that, because everyone, they don't want to risk it.
Yeah.
But actually, really, are we going to start doing that?
Let's look. They're in school every day.
Yeah.
Their attendance is good. I'm very supportive of the school. I'm not a bad parent. If they ring me up and say, he's going on report or he's got a detention, I'm really supportive of the school. I'm never disrespectful to anyone there. I'll have a go at the kids, you're making me look bad now.
Yeah.
But I'm a single parent. The holiday was £1,000 for the three of us to Turkey, all inclusive for a week. Yeah. I've paid £1,000 each before, and I saw this deal and I thought, I'm going. Yeah, I'm going. It was a couple of weeks before we went, and I just booked it and we went, and we had a fantastic time. But obviously, then you come back and you have to deal with this shit. Yeah. And I was just like, I'd rather be fine. I'm touch wood that my child would ever be found with a knife. But if that was the case, that's worthy of a fine. As opposed to taking them out of school, because I'm a single parent household. It's fucking expensive to take them away.
Yeah. So we've put this idea over, but I think it is going to get to the point now where it does become a campaign, because I think a lot of people would back it, because obviously you have got the parents like us that do cooperate with whatever our children. I mean, I say to mine, she'll probably sit sniggering, but you know, I always say my kids aren't angels, and I can guarantee if something's happened, they've done it. I wouldn't really ever be one that would be like, no, it's not my child. But there are parents out there, they're not cooperating with the law, and a lot of them are, well, I'd like to say, funding what the kids are doing, and they need to stop it.
I think for certain parents as well, there'd have to be some sort of support there, because it's, yes, you're holding yourself accountable for your children, which is great, but at the same time, there's a reason they're carrying the knife, and that needs to be looked into. And then someone, obviously, we're okay, we're in this world that we live in, so that's fine. But a lot of parents are like, why are you carrying a knife? We don't understand it, and now what do we do? So where do we go? And that's when it falls on the charities to provide support. So it'd have to be, I think,
because we don't get any funding either, so we
Exactly.
fundraise for ourselves. And obviously now, so our police crime commissioner, he's asked us to ask for funding for him, because we want to start educating the parents as well. Because until I started this, I lived in a little bubble. I didn't understand grooming. It was only when I did a Ben Kinsella training session on Teams, and I was absolutely gobsmacked at the things I heard, and I just thought, crikey. And and if I didn't know that, what do these parents, would they know what to look for? Would they understand some of the words that are used, the terms? It's frightening. But again, that's our time that we're doing it in.
If you get either of you, if you ever get any like links to Teams for training events, send them to me. I'd love to do stuff like that. And I feel like I am sort of half educated on what's going on, but like you say, I'd love to sit in on a Teams and
we
listen to these things.
So over the summer holidays, we'll be doing some sessions where we're going to set up probably in a community centre, and we're going to open sessions up on knife crime workshops that we do in the schools for parents and the children, because I'm thinking, why are the parents not doing these workshops? It's okay for the kids to sit in a classroom and watch us talk about Owen, but yet the parents, they don't know what's going on.
That's what you've got to remember, those parents are also the uneducated. They didn't get it in school either.
Of course not.
So there has to be a line, there has to be a transition, right? We have to be teaching the parents and the children, and then those children then become adults and they're educated about these things. And that's when things will get better. But at the moment, the parents themselves, for no fault of their own, are uneducated.
Yeah. And if you don't work in a criminal justice environment or see things day in, day out, you're not going to know.
No, our kids are lucky in that sense, because we live it and we tell them these things, but that's the minority.
Yes, very much so.
I think mine have learnt through me now, and to be honest, I'd be shocked if my kids ever picked up a weapon. I'd be really shocked, because it is drilled into them. Yeah. But, my son's, he's been there, he's been a bugger. And this is another thing, the kids think that they're automatically going to get a criminal record. He wasn't. And when he was taken in for questioning, and I phoned the police on him, and when he was taken in for questioning, that police officer did everything in his power. He said, because I don't want to criminalise him. So he gave him things to do so that he didn't end up with a criminal record. He did them, and he's not got a criminal record now.
There's massive diversion in the criminal justice system, and that's the whole point.
People think if you're arrested and you're taken and you're questioned that you're going to get a criminal record, and it's like, no, they do work with you to try and stop it going that far.
Yeah. So we've talked about the weapon ban, the law that came in 2021. Ronan's law, is it coming in this September?
Not too sure.
I've got a feeling
sometime soon.
I've got a feeling it's this September. So Ronan Canada was murdered. Funny enough, it was one of the last cases I worked on before I left the police.
Oh, okay, wow.
But I was leaving. It was like in that, when you've like put your notice in and then a case comes in. So I'd worked a little bit on the case and then I left. So when I saw Ronan's law come around, Justice for Ronan is the Instagram. So Pooja Kanda is Ronan's mum. I met her in person at the Knife Crime Awareness Week, but we'd previously had contact and we'd been, on the phone and stuff. Now, through she got an MBE last week, did you say?
I've got a phoner actually.
Yeah. And so Ronan's law has been passed, hasn't it, through Parliament? Now, can someone explain better than me in legal terms exactly what the ban is?
So I think Ronan's law, they're looking at the...
banning of the Rambo knives.
Yeah, so I think, but Roland's law goes a bit further as well, doesn't it? Is it about the cupboards, putting them behind cupboards and locking them away and stuff, and holding shops more accountable?
Yeah,
Yes.
I think this mainly on the shops.
Because this is another thing as well with many murders that I've worked on. Later on, during the investigation, so people have been arrested, I don't know, we've got their phones, we're looking through their phones. They've purchased these knives online at the age of 15.
Yeah.
And this is, you know, it's
what,
so I think this is where it's targeting now. So we'll put a link to Ronan's law in as well, please, Carl. He's making all his notes, all the things to tell him to add in. So that's been sort of introduced this year, and she's done fantastic work on this, you know, really tenacious with it, not give up. But, I mean, any bereaved parent, I mean, I'll come on to the Daniel Baird Foundation in a minute. I speak to Lynn Baird quite a bit, you know. Well, in fact, I'll say it now. She said to me for 2 to 3 years, no one would listen about the bleed control kits, knocking on doors.
Yeah.
No one would listen for 2, 3 years. And eventually, I mean, they're everywhere now, the bleed control kits, aren't
We've
they?
got 25, I think, in Swindon.
Have
We've
you?
got one in Tamworth, actually.
Ah.
Really random, but they got in touch and said, can you do some bleed kit training and can we have a bleed kit? And I was like, okay. So we've got one in Tamworth and then like 25 in Swindon.
Yeah.
We've got a lady in Essex that does her own campaigning for that, and she fundraises herself to get bleed kits out in Essex as well. So there's a lot of other people doing that now because, again, it's so important.
Yes, and I mean, I spoke to Holly Baird yesterday, last night, and Lynn. In fact, this will be a good point, actually, Carl, to put in the link for so it's a demo on how to use a bleed control kit. So, I mean, I'm trying to use a defib. Yeah. They're very. Is anyone else trying to use a defib? Yeah. So they're very, very self-explanatory, aren't they? Once you, the machine talks to you. Yeah. So you've got someone that's, you know, in need of a defib, which will mean there's no signal in the heart. And it will tell you where to put the patches and when to stop touching the patient, step back and press shock. It's quite self-explanatory, but when you're in fight or flight, are you going to know what to do? And it's the same with the bleed control kits, and I would have liked to have demonstrated one here. I don't want to open a kit that hasn't been opened.
Oh, you should have said I've got an opened one.
Have you? Oh, God, because Holly said to me, I'll try and get you a demo kit, but it didn't come in time.
Yeah.
So... But the next best thing is the link that we're adding into the podcast. So if you click on the link, which is how to use the bleed control kits, it's very self-explanatory. There's different gauzes in there. There's tourniquets in there. There's chest seals in there. So no matter what the wound is, you should be equipped to deal with it. Yeah. Fight or flight's a different matter because, you know, I've walked into cells when people have been hanging and you really have to switch on, don't you, you know, to try and get your adrenaline pumping because it's quite easy for people to run. Yeah. But I think more and more training on these things, or at least knowing where there is one, how to use one.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean?
The first challenge was get the resources, and now they're out there.
Now
we need to know, actually, because if you can't use them, what's the point?
Now, I've seen a lot of them in disused phone boxes in Birmingham. Now, I don't know if that's everywhere, but a lot of disused phone boxes are containing them now. Okay. They're also on the sides of pubs. They're in premises, especially premises that are open late, because it's no good having one in a school that shuts at 3:00.
No.
Do you know what I mean? So, I mean, there's one up by me, sort of Woodgate Valley. There's a glassworks, an industrial glassworks. There was an industrial accident where someone was cut at work. It wasn't a stabbing. Phone 999. Your nearest bleed control kit is in the Crown pub over the road. It saved his life.
Yeah.
So, you know, you just think like, I've got goosebumps talking about it. That's how powerful these can be. So there are things we can do. I think, how much is a kit, Joe? Do you know?
Just the kit, they're about 110 quid.
£110. Because Brum's Updates on Facebook does what is called a Friday Fiver whip round.
Oh, wow.
If you get, how many people throwing a fiver in? That's one kit. Where do you want it?
Yeah.
So, you know, the Brum's Updates Facebook page is brilliant for this. I've chucked into these donations many a time. People buy kits outright and say, right, I've got a premises, I want it here. Honestly, they should be everywhere. But Lynn will say, I'll get her on at some point when she's better. 2-3 years, she was knocking on doors.
Don't surprise me.
And no one was interested.
Yeah.
And was that 2017? Daniel was killed. He was stabbed at the Forge pub, was it, in Digbeth? And no one knew what a bleed control kit was then.
See, we have the problem back home is that our police force, the Wiltshire Police, they don't support them. Now, they'll support us with our knife amnesty bins, and they are quite happy to empty them for us, but give us a bleed kit. But yet over the border, even in Somerset Police, they're on a campaign dishing them out everywhere.
Why is that then? Is this just politics?
Because there's no so ours are saying that there's no statistics behind it to say that they prove a life, and I said, but they're not being used. So if they're not being used, which is a good thing, where are you going to get your statistics from that they
Well, we've
they
got one
help?
statistic, what you just
There
said.
you go. He wasn't even stabbed. No, there was one, and they published them as well.
Yeah.
If you look on the Daniel Baird Foundation Facebook and Instagram, they put out there when it's been used and they've saved a
But
life.
what's really frustrating is he said, but if you concentrate on the training, and I looked at him and I went, we've been training people for a year on how to use a bleed kit. We've been doing training. Where have you been?
That's bullshit. I'm not having that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not
just
having
hard
that.
work.
We need to be getting in touch with, we need to be pushing these nationally.
Yeah, it just seems to be everyone wants everything to be reactive all the time, not proactive.
Yeah.
Let the problem happen
Let's
and then
cure
we'll
it,
deal
not
with it.
prevent it.
Let's have the research and then we'll deal with it. No, let's get to it now.
Yeah,
because we know it's just a matter of fact.
But that's
It's just
twice research has been mentioned in
Yeah.
the hour we've been chatting.
Yeah,
You've mentioned it
exactly.
with education. You've
Yeah.
mentioned it
We
on
had a
that.
stabbing
We've
in,
got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
I think, was it 2024? Start of 2024, New Year's Day. So it's overnight going into New Year. And there was a stabbing in the town centre. And then the next day, the police put their photos up. So there's the police tape and there's our bleed kit on the wall in the background. And I was thinking that wasn't even used and it was there.
Yeah.
Oh,
wow.
man.
It's so
I
frustrating.
mean, we see it, don't we? Like, when you're in the police force, you see the stabbings.
Oh, yeah.
You see them waiting for the ambulance. You see the ambulance service using basically the same stuff that's in the bleed kit. When you've got 10 witnesses around there that could have just grabbed it and used it.
Yeah.
But if they're not there, you can't use them.
Boils my piss. Regular phrase of mine. So, petition. Link to the petition in the description.
Yes.
Owen's World. Link to Owen's World in the description. Ronan's Law. Again, the banning of ninja swords, Rambo knives, and the covering of them in shops. We do need to talk about Tracy's Law. Right, I've got on my top here. Get that in. I'm covered in sweat. No point knives. Right, Alan, you introduced me to Alan. Bless you, Carl. You introduced me to Alan at Knife Crime Awareness Week.
Yeah.
Do you know? Does anyone know more about Tracy's Law? Because I might not do it the best service.
You probably do. But
No point knives. Basically, it's the selling of pointed knives.
Yeah.
So we've also got another campaign to talk about here. I haven't spoke to Leanne about talking about this, but Leanne Lucas is pushing the Let's Be Blunt campaign.
Yes.
Now, she's actually been on Good Morning Britain and stuff, hasn't she, recently?
Yeah,
so
see that.
enough people should have seen this. Leanne was the dance teacher in the Stockport murders of those little girls that were stabbed to death. When was it? Last year? The year before?
it
Year
was
before?
last July.
23?
Last July, yeah.
24?
Yeah, last July.
Yeah.
So, as a result, Leanne and Alan here, No Point Knives and Let's Be Blunt, they're pushing. How often do we use the tip of a knife?
Never.
Right. So even they've done research, and even chefs will say very rarely we use the tip of a knife.
yeah.
We cut with the blade, don't we?
Yeah. I mean, you might want to cut open if you've got a microwave, but you can use a fork for that.
Yeah.
Or something else. You don't need to use that.
I
Yes.
use a key.
Key.
That's random.
Jesus Christ. Feral.
I don't know if it'd work with my keys. How sharp are your keys?
So I was just thinking when you said that, because I was stabbing my sweet potatoes yesterday with a knife, and I actually did use the point and a half, but you could use a fork, couldn't you?
Yeah, exactly.
But the point is, and if you please, if you go on Let's Be Blunt campaign on Instagram or Facebook, or just type it into Google, they're pushing that the end of the knife is blunt. But also, if you were to walk into somewhere like Dunelm, any big retail shops, they've got aisles and aisles of knives, knife blocks, sharp knives. They're on display. They're in reach of
all low.
children.
Yeah.
I mean, year 3s and year 4s can reach the knives on the shelf, you know. So No Point Knives and Tracy's Law is really trying to push the banning of this.
Yeah.
Do we need them? You know, come on. No.
We don't need points on knives, no.
Can you remember the last time you bought a knife?
No, you buy one for your house and then you can, or if you get a couple, but then you keep them, don't you?
Exactly. You buy them when you move into your house.
Yeah.
So I've lived, independently since the age of 18. I bought a knife block. Still got it. Yes, you might need to sharpen them and stuff, but who's buying knives all the time? Do you know what I mean?
This is the issue as well with kitchen knives, is like, I think Alan might have put it up actually, like the most knives used in homicides are kitchen knives.
Yeah, they are.
And then when we had our first amnesty bin emptied, they like to call it a surrender bin, back in January, it had 65 knives in it. Most of those were kitchen knives. So it's much, and as some kids said yesterday, it's much easier to go in my kitchen and get a knife than to go on the black market and buy one. And not only was I shocked he said it was easy to get a kitchen knife, I was also shocked he knew what the black market was at 9 years old.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
They're learning it from their friends.
It's scary,
but
innit?
I think the reason why they're produced so much is because they go blunt, right?
Right.
If you have them for long, they go blunt. And people, rather than getting a sharpener, will then just buy a new knife. So I think that's why people go through them. But then let's push sharpeners in the home, where it be the old, because you can have a stick, can't you? It's like a little nail file that you can do
my
it
mum's got
yourself,
one.
or you can get electric ones where you put it in. And obviously, we don't want to be sharpening knives, but if we can get the ones with no tip, the no point, and have them blunt, but just sharpen the blade for cooking purposes, then that's what we need to do.
Exactly that. So we've covered a lot of campaigns and laws there. I just want to talk about one more, because you've just, when you said, what did you say that they like to call them? The bins?
Amnesty bins.
The surrender bins.
Surrender
now,
bins. I didn't know that. Have you seen Faz, Amnesty?
Yes, he was.
He was at the event, wasn't he? So has he got a mobile?
Yeah, he's got a mobile van.
A mobile van as a knife amnesty? Very interesting. I really like that.
There's a lot of charities that do their own ones, because there's always one outside a police station.
Yeah,
there's a
we
lot of
do
charities
ours.
that do their own ones, and they're authorised to take away the stuff. And it's scary. I mean, there's one guy, always an alternative. He does them, and what they find, I think he's in covers Yorkshire. The stuff, I mean, you've had spiral knives, like cyclone knives, and all sorts found in there. It's just crazy stuff. But at least they're being used, and that's the whole point.
Yeah.
We've got them at both college campuses as well. So we've got 3 at the moment in Swindon, and I think the one at one of the college campuses, I think they had a Rambo knife put in it within a week of it being installed.
Brilliant. I'd really like, if anyone can send me a list of where the knife amnesty bins are in Birmingham, I'd really like to share that, because I don't know where they are. I wouldn't know where to put one.
Yeah.
So how's anyone else supposed to know? I need to know more about this. So a spin justice of the week is an injustice that can be very minor, it can be major. It's just something that boils your own piss that you want to talk about. Have you got one?
I do, not very recently, but this is one that boiled it.
Yeah.
So it was New Year's Day, and we decided to go up London with the kids.
Yeah.
And we thought we'd explore around London, get them to see like the Tate and everything. Had a lovely day, and the whole point was at the end we'd take them to Hamleys,
Right.
to give them more incentive to do what the adult wanted to do, and then go to Hamleys Toy Factory at the end.
Yeah.
We checked on the website. Website said open till 9 p.m. on New Year's Day. So I was like, oh, that's great. We'll do what we need to do, and then we'll go there. Well, we rock up at Hamleys at about 6:10, and doors are already shut. Won't let us through. We're closing, and my 2 kids' faces. Well, my eldest 9-year-old cried his eyes out, and I was trying to say to the security guard, look, just let us go in and out. You're still going through a queue at the moment of people paying. Can we just go in? He's like, no, you've seen it on our windows. This is the times that we were shut. I was like, but we're not local. We haven't walked down this street before. We've come into London.
And you looked online?
Exactly. We looked online. That was the whole point.
Yeah.
Is that, can I speak to the manager? No, I'm the security. You have to deal with me only. And it was just devastating for them. That was my injustice. Because then I've had to then go home with 2 extremely sad children.
Oh.
Had to pop into little convenience stores to get us some chocolate to cheer them up a little bit. But I was absolutely devastated. I mean, mum guilt. I mean, it's bad anyway, isn't it?
Yeah.
As you both know.
Yeah.
But to go through that was my injustice. We did what we needed to do. We followed their rules. 9 p.m. We were well within time, and they shut it. Yeah, that was my injustice.
Good one. Have you got one, Jo?
Mine's probably train fare, to be honest.
Yeah.
How much is it? Crikey.
Yeah. Well, we were saying about the Avanti West Coast to London, so I got that. Did you get that one? Does that go? So when I went down to London for the knife crime event, I Luckily, I've got a friend that works on the trains, and I was like, mate, give me some tips. What do I need to do? She went, you want the fast train, the Avanti West Coast, hour and 20, Birmingham to Euston.
Yeah.
Brilliant. So I booked that, open return, because I know the event was until 9 p.m, but I thought I don't know what time I can get back to Euston, because obviously the tube was at Westminster. So delayed both out and back. But, little tip for you people, there's a thing called the delay repay. So I basically got my money back, because I opened a delay complaint. Of course I did, being the Karen that I am. Uploaded my PDFs and my tickets. Refunded.
Yeah, brilliant.
So basically it cost me
And
nothing.
the trains are awful. So I go up to see my partner. He lives up in Yorkshire, and I get the train up there. Not only does it cost an absolute fortune, but when you get to Sheffield, the trains are like back from the 40s. Like, they drive about 3 miles an hour. They're all falling apart. The window's actually open still, and I just think,
My
what are we
God.
paying
Colin.
for? Yeah.
Yeah.
Robbed.
Have I got an injustice? Oh, I'll tell you what I'm going to talk about, the grooming gangs, because it's going to bring me on to the shout out. So we're seeing a lot in the news, aren't we? This isn't a new thing. So why are we only talking about it now? Like this? It's going to go hand in hand with my shout out, so I'm going to talk about her now. But also, if you all the descriptions and the links that we've added in, if you could also just give Bipolar Mum Journey a follow. Gemma is, honestly, she's got her own story, and she was gang raped at the age of sort of like 17, and talks a lot about the grooming gangs. She's done an episode on Shaun Attwood's channel with, do you ever watch Three Girls?
No.
It's a drama documentary about grooming gangs in, I want to say Rotherham or Rochdale. I'll get it wrong. But Maggie Oliver was a detective with Greater Manchester Police, and she basically whistle blew, saying, this has been going on, no one's doing anything, it's all being covered up. And she now really pushes it. So if you look at Maggie Oliver on Insta, and also Bipolar Mum Journey, that's Gemma, they're doing a lot of work around this, and they're doing a lot of awareness. There's so many others as well, because I'm really in tune, because when you follow people, you see a lot of it, don't you?
Exactly.
So if you're not following them, you won't see it. So if you're only following footballers or boxers or whatever, that's what you're going to be seeing on your feed. Whereas if you open your mind to other things like this, yes, it's not nice to see. Yes, it is a bit depressing, but we need to know about it. But they're talking about it now. But I mean, she's same age as us, and this was in her teens that this happened. So I really just want to touch upon the grooming gangs in general, and groomers, the injustice of vulnerable people being groomed and things like that. But also, my shout out is going to be for Bipolar Mum Journey, Maggie Oliver, and the work they're doing around it to raise awareness, because they're fantastic. Like us, straight talking women, powerhouse type women, Gemma's been on some sort of documentary or programme this week with, is it Victoria Derbyshire? You'll know her face. Follow her, you'll see the picture. Doing amazing work, so that's my shout out. Have either of you two got one?
I've got a few, if you don't mind.
Yeah, go on.
In terms of me and my petition, obviously I have to shout out to my friends and family for supporting me and doing everything there. But I also want to shout out to you.
Thanks.
So it's directly to you, because you've been a massive support and obviously doing everything you can for the petition. So thank you.
You're welcome.
But just some really good charities out there that, again, are doing a lot, going into schools, doing their amnesties and stuff like that. So we've got Always an Alternative. We've got Let the Youth Live. It's just people to look out for and follow, because these are amazing people as well. Sit Up and Stand Up to Knife Violence, a great organisation there. And this guy is on TikTok, M4 Youth. I think, and I hope I don't get this wrong, but I think he's an ex-criminal, and he goes into schools, sort of like a social worker, and he may even now be a social worker, I'm not too sure. But he does so much work, and his TikTok is just inspirational, what he's doing for all the kids. And because, again, he's engaging, so they're learning more. So just those are amazing people to follow.
And all of those I will try and remember, but when because I'll listen back to the edit and I'll share the edit with you. When I'm listening back to the draft before it gets aired, I'm making notes of all these things and following all these people.
They deserve a shout out, because it's just annoying that everyone has to take it on their own hands. We've got all these pockets of amazing people, amazing organisations. yet the government can't see that this is an issue that actually needs to be tackled
Yeah.
in Parliament.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be on everyone as an individual who is strong, who's had enough to do something about it. So yeah, hands down to them.
Good, nice. Go on, Jo. Got a shout out.
Oh, my main one's probably Owen's mum and their family, because even though they're struggling, they still fight and they still come into schools and they still put themselves out there. And then probably, other than Alan from No Point Knives, I'd say we've got there's three charities now in Bristol. I know you know of some. So we've got Mikey's World.
Yes.
Mikey was killed in a house party in Bath in 2023. And then there was Max and Mason. So they were both murdered last year in Bristol, practically on their doorstep. And their mums have set up organisations in their names. But I think Max's mum recently has had a lot of trouble because one of the boys that was charged or found guilty with Max's murder put a video out on TikTok boasting about the fact that he'd killed Max. So she's had to go through all that on top of grieving, and the boys are obviously trying to appeal
Oh my God, that's
sentences.
disgusting.
So they're going through so much, and I think they just still show up and they still keep going. So they deserve it.
Yeah,
And do you know what? Like, the parent of that person, how would you feel if your son was boasting about killing someone? I am disgusted in that.
Disgusted, yeah.
Fucking vile. So brilliant. I know we did meet some others, didn't we? So Let's Be Blunt and No Point Knives, obviously we did meet those. There's so many. Basically, if you look through my Instagram and look through who I'm following in terms of Foundations World campaign, if you type that into the search in my following followers, there's loads. Because I'm following them all because I want to know all about it. But the Daniel Baird Foundation, I mean, Lim founded those kids.
We're trying to get the invite out for September to everybody. Like, come along. And as we're sending it out, we're seeing so many more organisations to send the invite out to, but we're just not getting the RSVPs. So it's like, we need you there.
Right, okay, we need to push that as well then. Right, we'll do that. Right, well, we've survived the heat.
Just about.
Hot. Thank you so much for coming on. Honestly, we've got to do all we can. So anyone listening, just click follow, click like, sign the petition. It takes minutes. Please support what we're trying to do here.
Make a difference.
Yeah, exactly. So thank you. And
Thanks for
thanks,
having
Carl.
us. Yes, thank you, Carl.
Thanks, Carl. Is now a hashtag.
Yeah.
Oh.
If you have a topic that you want to discuss, get in touch at b31spinjustice@gmail.com or via Instagram @spinjustice.